Right, so when I come across these topics that I usually talk about in these videos, it's usually either from you guys, you know, leaving me suggestions of things to talk about, or it's because I'm actually going out of my way to see what type of drama's been happening on social media. But every now and then, I just scroll on TikTok, not even looking for a video idea, and then one will just strike me in the face. Which is quite ironic, because the person we're speaking about today is actually an ex-MMA fighter, so he definitely knows how to strike people in the face. In fact, interesting story, and when I say that, I mean this is interesting to me and maybe a handful of people watching this. To the rest of you, probably means nothing. But I actually grew up watching mixed martial arts, UFC specifically, you know, it's the biggest promotion. And there's been a pretty well-known fighter throughout the years who was part of the UFC called Kevin Lee, who is kind of known for saying a few, like, cringy lines here and there. If you go on social media and on any of the MMA pages, you might see some comments saying like, oh, so how does Kevin Lee fit into all of this? He has become a slight meme because of the lines he said in the past, but he's a very, very good MMA fighter. I mean, he's part of the UFC. He has to be, right? Well, I actually watched Keith Lee's videos for a long time before I realized that this is Kevin Lee's brother. I knew Kevin Lee's brother was also an MMA fighter. I think was actually a part of Bellator at one point, but I never put two and two together. Never realized it was Keith Lee, you know, the food reviewer on TikTok. But it is. Keith Lee has actually went from punching people for a living to reviewing food for a living and gaining an audience of 14.5 million followers. It's a bit mad. Again, probably just to me, but I thought it was interesting. But forget about the MMA stuff, okay, because it has absolutely nothing to do with today's video. We're going to be talking about Keith Lee, the food reviewer, not the MMA fighter. Now, he is known to be someone whose opinion is very respected when it comes to food, because he's very honest in his videos, you know? If he doesn't like something, he'll say he doesn't like it. If he likes it, he says he likes it. Kind of the way food review should be, right? Well, he is currently doing a bit of like a food tour, and he's going to like different states and different cities to taste test like different restaurants and leave reviews and whatnot. And he's actually currently in Atlanta, or he was within the last week. Now, I didn't know this beforehand because, you know, I'm on the other side of the world, but apparently, as it seems, Atlanta has a bit of like a weird reputation when it comes to restaurants. Now, again, I obviously have no personal experience with this, but what I've seen from like reviews and comments and articles and stuff, it seems like there's like a lot of like weird rules in certain restaurants. It seems like the customer service is a bit interesting, and usually not because the people who are actually like working on customer service are like doing a bad job or anything. They've just been told to do their job in a weird way because of these like strange rules. Well, it seems like Keith Lee has experienced this firsthand since he's been in Atlanta, and because of his negative experiences, it's got like a lot more people talking about it on TikTok, saying this is something that we've been thinking for years. But also on top of that, he's got some restaurants that aren't very happy with him, and in fact are like making like response videos in a very cringe way. But also, as we'll get a lot later in the video, and kind of the main reason why I'm talking about this, is that Keith Lee, because of this situation, is receiving a lot of hate, and he's receiving a lot of love as well, but a lot of ridiculous hate of people who just want to find a problem in everything, I guess. And it's actually resulted in him and his family getting a lot of threats, and as we'll get further in this video, that will become like a lot more confusing, because I don't think he's done absolutely anything wrong during this. But we'll get to all the responses and stuff. Let's actually start with a few of Keith Lee's recent reviews. Now, I am going to show the negative ones here. Bear in mind, there has been quite a few positive ones as well. It's not all just negative. The negative ones just add to the story that we're going to be explaining in today's video. But this first one isn't the most negative thing in the world. In fact, he did get the food, and he did, like, enjoy it to a certain extent, which is more than what we can say for some other restaurants. But straight away, he kind of gives us an idea of these, like, strange rules that some of the restaurants have.
We initially tried to do takeout, but when we came in, they said we couldn't sit down, and there was no space at the bar for us to stand. So we had to stand outside to order our food, and then we decided we just gonna dine in. But two people in our party stepped out for a second, because again, we fresh off the plane, so everybody was trying to get situated. The waitress, again, she was nice, but she told us she couldn't take any orders, or she couldn't do anything until everybody sat down. No water, no coffee, no drink orders, no nothing. She also said they can only do one order, and there's no add-ons. Like, if you want to add on afterwards, it's a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's something that I've never seen in a restaurant, and I really don't understand it. I get that maybe they'd be busy and they can't take add-ons. In fact, I don't really get it. Surely you'd want to take add-ons because that would mean more money. I don't really understand that. I guess, like, it makes sense for food. If you're busy, you've got more people who need to come in for a certain time. But to not be able to order another drink, like, if you finished your drink, sounds fucking mental to me, but apparently it's a rule they have. But yeah, Keith Lee goes on to review the food. He says it's decent. It's not the best place that he's ever had, from what I can tell here, but he says the food's decent. He just mentions the rules at the beginning. But then we move over to Keith Lee's review of the Real Milk and Honey in Atlanta. Now, this is actually the restaurant that ends up responding to Keith Lee in a very cringy way. But before we get into the actual review, I do want to go through some of the reviews for the Real Milk and Honey in Atlanta, because like I said before, they're very bizarre. Now the first thing that stands out to me is in Rule 3 here, we have 18% gratuity added to parties of 5 or more, or checks larger than $75. But then in Rule 9 it says no parties larger than 4 on days that end in a Y. We're a small place, and when we get busy, large groups are hard to accommodate. We do not push tables together. So I don't really understand where like the gratuity comes from for parties over 5 when they're only larger than 4. Doesn't really make much sense. Then they've got some stuff like no modifications to any of the menu items, no reservations unless you're Barack Obama, no table hibernation, 90-minute max, which is something that I've seen in like certain other places, usually during COVID actually, but I get it if it's a really busy restaurant. I get they might have to have like a maximum time. But what I'm trying to show you here is that there is a lot of rules, which a lot of people have brought up to say that it already seems like a bit of a stressful place to eat, and when we go into Keith Lee's experience there, it really does seem like it.
Before we came, we attempted to call our order in. We were greeted with an automatic message that said they do not take call-in orders, but we were already here, so we just went inside. I stayed in the car and my family went in, and they told them they were closed early for deep cleaning. Yet the door's wide open and his people still going in and grabbing their orders.
Okay, so straight away he says that they went to the Real Milk and Honey. He's got his family to go in to order the food. They've said they can't serve his family, but Keith has noticed that other people have went in to collect orders after his family have been kind of refused, and now Keith is actually going to go in himself.
Don't call this restaurant trying to get nobody fired. Ain't nobody do nothing. This is just the rules they had. If you don't like their rules not for you. And for me and my family, the rules just wasn't for us. We just not their target audience. For the record, afterwards, I did walk in and they did recognize me and they attended the services, but I respectfully declined. I'm a normal person. I pay for my food like everybody else. I walk in spots like everybody else. We are all normal people. Respectfully, if you're not gonna do it then, don't do it now. God bless you.
But yeah, we just trying to get some food.
So yeah, as he just said, he goes to walk in, they realise, oh shit, this is Keith Lee, someone who's massive on TikTok, reviewing food. His opinion matters to a lot of people. In fact, we can actually serve you. And one thing I really like about Keith Lee is that he doesn't want to be treated like a king when other people are being refused food or whatnot. He doesn't want the restaurant to treat him any differently, hence why he's got his family to go in and collect the food, because he doesn't want the food to be any different to what other people would get when he's doing the reviews. So as he says in the video, he declines and says that he doesn't want to be treated in a different way to other people, so he's not going to eat there, and he's posted this video just explain his experience, but still saying over and over again in the video that he doesn't want anyone to like bombard the company, leave reviews or whatever. If you want to leave a review, go and try the food yourself first, see what your experience is like, and then leave your honest review. He's actually been very nice about the situation that is actually quite shitty. I mean, the restaurant was prioritizing him over his family. Obviously, they didn't know that it was his family, but just prioritizing him over anybody else because he's Keith Lee.
I do not support, condone, or agree tearing down these businesses. While we personally may not have the best customer service experience, it does not mean you will have the same experience. That also don't mean go on Twitter and tear these businesses down. At the end of the day, business owners are people. You never know what people are going through.
Like I said, it's not like a takedown video or anything. It's not a hit piece by any means. If anything, most of the video consists of him saying, don't be a dickhead and don't leave bad reviews. Now, after this video, the Real Milk and Honey released a couple different statements that were very different to each other. So the first one is like a very classic PR statement, right? It says, we extend our apologies to all as we address a recent incident that highlighted a review from a high-profile food blogger. In no way were we trying to discredit anyone. If the comments came across as such, kindly accept our apologies. It's crucial to always take feedback and make improvement for the success of our business and our community. We've taken time to reflect on the incident and have started internal corrective actions with our team regarding communication styles. Which, like I said, is like a very classic PR statement, but then a video came out of someone who people are claiming to be the owner of the Real Milk and Honey, or somebody who kind of works high up there, where he basically just says, who's Keith Lee?
Did you see this Keith Lee video about the Real Milk and Honey?
And who is this Keith Lee?
Daddy, you don't know Keith Lee? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, very different energy to the first statement, isn't it? Now, they've tried coming out and saying that this was just a joke or whatnot. It does seem a bit passive-aggressive to me. I don't really get the joke. Because at the end of the day, they definitely knew who Keith Lee was, because they decided to give him, like, this special treatment just because he's Keith Lee and they wanted their restaurant to be reviewed good. But funny enough, this isn't the first restaurant within the last week that's decided to try and give Keith Lee this priority treatment, and now he's had to refuse it because he doesn't want that. In fact, there's been another two just within the last few days.
As you can see, I don't have any bags in my hands. Me and my family showed up and we attempted to order before we got here. We called the number they had connected on Yelp 3 times, no answer. So when we pulled up, I sent my family in to order for us. They said on the weekends, due to being busy, they don't do any takeout at all. So what we decided to do is my family's gonna go eat. They're just gonna come bring the food out while I'm sitting in the car, so they have no idea I'm here. My family asked how long the wait was to be seated. They said an hour to an hour and a half. My family then came and relayed that message to me, and I decided to go in myself. As soon as me and my wife were done taking pictures, the lady said the table was ready.
Yeah, so as you can see, pretty much the exact same thing happened again. And at this point, this whole like food tour that Keith Lee is doing is blowing up on TikTok. I guess because people had these opinions on restaurants in Atlanta in the first place, and now they're just seeing it firsthand from someone who's well respected in kind of like the food community. I mean, as we can see by this comment that has over 100,000 likes, it says Atlanta is getting cooked. Keith Lee stands on his business. That's what we need. Atlanta restaurants do this every day, but I bet they are paying attention now. So far, Atlanta is the only city where this man has said, as you can see, I don't have any food in my hand twice. Like, I mean, just these comments have over 100,000 likes. Never mind the videos themselves. People have been even making parodies, like this one that's got over 1 million likes saying how Keith Lee got restaurant owners in Atlanta.
I'm about to lose my business because of y'all, so let's say it with me. Welcome to Dirty Bird. How may we assist you?
Welcome to Dirty Bird. How may we?
Try to see it now. Keith Lee? I can see it now. I came to Dirty Bird. It was a bad experience because this dude came in late.
And look, I mean, it's a parody, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. The fact that he is getting such special treatment obviously means that they do value his opinion a lot, and they are probably pretty intimidated by him at this point. This part of the video is also one of my personal favorite points.
Hello, sir. How are you today? May I take your order? Who talk like that? We talk like that because Keith Lee is in town.
Like I said, a parody or not, it feels like this is true. Because this situation happened again, but this time off camera, and Keith Lee wasn't even going to do a review on the place, he was just going to go there to genuinely eat with his family. And the only reason why it came to TikTok is because someone else recorded from afar, like someone who was also waiting for food. So yeah, as you can see, he's kind of pointing to the people in this car. What he's saying here, which we will later find out in Keith Lee's like response, he's saying that all these people are waiting for food and they've been waiting here for, I believe, over an hour at this point, but you're just going to give me a table straight away. And this is after he's been in and decided to walk out because he doesn't want special treatment. The staff have genuinely left the restaurant to go over and like apologize to him because of this and like I guess try and get on his good side. Like he's actually walking around like he's the king at this point when he doesn't want to. He just has that energy with restaurants. It's actually mental.
When he walked in, they wanted to give him a table ASAP, but we told him we've been sitting in the cars, couldn't sit down, and they tried to let him skip in front of us. He like, nah, if they can't eat, I don't want to eat either, cause how the hell y'all gonna give me a table and don't get him no table just cause y'all know I got social media?
And by the way, fair play to Keith Lee, because like I said, this wasn't a review for a TikTok. He was genuinely going in there to just eat. It just so happens that someone was there that knew who he was and records from afar. Like no one would have knew otherwise. He clearly keeps his energy. Now, because this video actually went viral, Keith Lee did make a response to it to explain the situation further.
Long story short, me and my family tried to go to old lady game, and that situation just wasn't for me. And I want to be very clear. Usually when celebrities come in, they want to be treated like that. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a normal person. So I get the employee was just trying to do her job. I'm just not the target audience for that kind of treatment.
And you know what's mental about all of this, right? And the reason why I'm kind of talking about it is that Keith Lee is getting a lot of hate for this. He is getting a ridiculous amount of support as well. But there are certain people, especially like on Twitter, I've seen so many tweets about it. Like we got this tweet here saying Keith Lee don't know how to use clout correctly. If they offer you a seat in 5 minutes, just take the seat and eat, man. Completely missing the point of what Keith Lee's trying to do here. Like, first of all, he doesn't want the special treatment, which I think is great, first of all. But secondly, if he's going to be reviewing the food of a restaurant, he doesn't want special treatment. He wants what everyone else has so he can do the review fairly. But like I said before, there's been many tweets like this.
So the owner and the manager walked out and they offered us a table for us to be able to sit down. We told them as a family that we would do takeout, but we wouldn't eat in the restaurant. And the only way we would do takeout is if they gave the table that they was going to get us to the 2 girls that was sitting in this car, which they did. And on top of that, they had to make sure the girls that was sitting in this car got takeout before we did, which again, they did.
I mean, how can you hate this at all, man? He's just going around like the fucking restaurant Superman at this point. He saw 2 strangers who had been waiting. He didn't really have to do anything at this point, but he noticed that these 2 have been waiting a long time, apparently for an hour and a half. So before he accepted any food from the restaurant who are now trying to treat him like a king, he says, right, okay, as long as these people have been waiting for so long, get their food. Which they did. And the bloke's been getting threats from people. I don't understand it.
Personally, the food was good to me, but again, I wasn't recording anything. I was just eating. We paid for our food and I tipped the waitress $500. I wasn't gonna say nothing about it because again, I was just eating food. But these videos came out and I just wanted to make sure we clear it up. The lady we met inside the restaurant had nothing to do with anything.
Okay, so there you go. That's kind of like the backstory of them videos that kind of went viral from the car. And yeah, he explains this pretty well. But now that actually brings us to the fact that Keith Lee is potentially going to stop this Atlanta tour because of like the negative reactions from people.
If I go to a bunch of restaurants and have a string of good experiences, then I'm being too nice. Then on the same hand, if I go to 2 or 3 restaurants where I don't have the best experience, now I'm tearing down businesses, now I'm being mean, now I need to shut up, now I need to mind my business, now I need to sit down. Again, I can't win for losing. I understand everybody gonna have an opinion on the situation. You can disagree with me, you cannot like what I say. Completely understand, and I'm okay with that. But when my safety and my family safety start coming into play, That's where I draw the line at.
Especially when I was asked to give my opinion. Because you telling me my opinion only matter if it's positive. Because if it's positive, you got my face plastered on the wall and you saying Keith Lee been here. But if it's negative, I need to sit down somewhere and you don't know who I am.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense, right? Of course, the restaurants are going to love Keith Lee when he has a positive reaction to their food and like their customer service. But as soon as he gives a negative reaction, you don't want him there. That's kind of how it's always going to be, unfortunately. But as he's also just said, like, his family's safety is coming into play here because of like the messages or the threats that are coming from people, which again is fucking mental. The bloke's just reviewing food, and even in these videos where he has a negative experience, he's not really like bashing the restaurants. If anything, he goes like above and beyond to tell people like, look, don't send any negativity towards a restaurant. If you want to go and review it, go and eat it yourself and find out if you like it or not. He only explains his experience at each place, and I guess some people want him to just make videos on like places he enjoys, which I guess, like, in my opinion, just kind of takes away from the whole, like, purpose of these, like, food reviews. I feel like you should be showing the negative and the positive. That's how people will know that they can trust your opinion. I mean, if you like every single place you go to and you're praising every single restaurant, like, what does your opinion really matter at that point? Because at the end of the day, not every restaurant is good. I think every single person watching this video right now has had a bad experience at a restaurant before. But yeah, either way, let's carry on with his video here.
People be like, well, you know what you're doing. You know if you give a bad review, people gonna come and flood it with hate comments. What else do you want me to do? I'm telling people not to go and leave hate comments. I'm telling people not to leave negative comments. I'm telling people make their own opinions. You want me to lie and say I had a good experience, or you want me to only post the videos when I have a positive experience? Then all of the videos I post is only gonna be positive experience. Then the narrative is gonna be pushing. I'm only trying to be positive, and we're gonna end up in the same situation.
Yeah, I think no matter what he does, he's gonna have people who react badly to it, aren't they? Like, if he gives a negative reaction to a restaurant, they're obviously not gonna like it. Some will actually take his criticism in and try and improve the place, and some will post like a video saying, who is Keith Lee? For some reason. It is kind of a lose-lose situation, but I think one thing that is clear here is that the vast majority of people enjoy Keith Lee's videos. I mean, his comment section is filled with positivity, right? It's just a shame that the vocal minority can have such a big effect, and I think that's kind of the way it is with everything. Like, if you received 100 good comments on like a picture of yourself or something, and everyone's saying, oh, you look beautiful, you look great, all this stuff, and then one person says you look ugly, that one's going to stick out to you, and that's the one you're probably going to look into a bit more, when it shouldn't really be like that, but it's just kind of how people work, isn't it?
One of the reasons people show up the way they do is because they know I'm being honest and I'm giving my personal opinion and my personal perspective on the situation. But if I don't do that anymore, it won't be the 3 or 4 hour wait times, and now we won't be able to help business owners, and we won't be able to give back to the community. In the grand scheme, that's what this is about. It's about giving back. It's about giving back to the community.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. The amount of good that has came out of Keith Lee's videos, he's reviewed like very small like takeouts and restaurants and stuff before that maybe weren't that busy and weren't doing very good in a business sense, but made really good food. He's reviewed a lot of these places and gave a very positive reaction to these places, which has actually resulted in that restaurant, a takeout, whatever it is, getting a massive customer base, and now their business is fucking flying. But if he was fake with his reactions and just enjoyed every single place, obviously it wouldn't have that type of reaction. It's the fact that he's honest that does. So I agree with that completely.
At the end of the day, I just want to eat food, walk in my path. If you want to be on a journey with me, you are more than welcome. If you don't, God bless you. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all be safe. Relax. Like, relax, bro. Like, I understand. I get it. But at the end of the day, what you want me to do? You want me to lie? I can't do that. I'll walk away from everything before I lie. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, and I believe him that he wouldn't lie as well, because he did do a video of Mr. Beast before where, like, he ate his feastable bars. Mr. Beast is sat right next to him, and Keith Lee was basically saying, like, oh, they're not very good. So I believe that he would be honest. In fact, he didn't say they're not very good. He just said they're not great. But that's why people trust him, because he's honest. But like I said, everything that we spoke about in today's video has resulted in, like, a lot of negativity with Keith Lee and his family and people who work at these restaurants getting a lot of hate and, like, safety online, all this stuff. It's been completely blown out of proportion, clearly. And I kind of get it to an extent, because when we look at the type of views that Keith Lee gets in his videos, I mean, the Real Milk and Honey videos on 21.3 million views. The Old Lady Gang in Atlanta has 14.9 million views. These were just some of the videos that we're reacting to in today's video. Unfortunately, when that many people see your videos on a daily basis, there's going to be a few bad people amongst that. It's just kind of how it works. There's too many people for them all to be good. What do you think is the best way to do these food reviews? Do you think it's how he's doing it right now? Do you think there's an alternative to do it that could maybe protect the companies or whatever? Just let me know your thoughts down below on everything that we spoke about. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. And until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.